The stage is now set, and on Monday night, the Buccaneers are playing the Philadelphia Eagles for the right to go to Detroit in the divisional round of the NFC playoffs. That and more coming up on today's episode of Locked On Bucs.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into this Monday game day episode of Locked On Bucs, your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for making Locked On Bucs your first listen of the day every day. And don't forget that you can subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And you follow me, your host, on Twitter at DHarrison82. I am David Harrison, credential member of the media covering your Tampa Bay Buccaneers for BucsGameDay.com, a part of Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation. Locked On Bucs is here for you Monday through Friday, along with our everydayers. And everydayers, you know we appreciate you greatly for coming through on a regular basis. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code Locked On to get $20 off your first purchase. And now you can become a Locked On Bucs insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs. Sign up today, and from there you'll get text messages from my buddy, your pal, James Yarcho, the other host of this show. You'll get news, insight, analysis, and just straight up one-on-one conversations with James Yarcho. Again, that's joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs. Become an insider today. On today's episode, we are discussing what it's going to take for the Buccaneers to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles. But first, we got to talk about who's playing on Monday night and what's at stake with the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. NFC North, stand up. How about that? Winning on Sunday. If the Buccaneers win against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday at home, they will travel to face the Detroit Lions in Detroit, take on the Lions at 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon. That's next weekend in the divisional round. Obviously, if the Buccaneers lose, their offseason begins. Draft season begins here on Locked On Bucs. And in order for them to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, we got to know who's going to play. And the final game status reports coming out over the weekend. And the only Buccaneer out for this game this weekend, or Monday night, which is still part of the football weekend, right? But not really technically the weekend. But for Monday night, the only Buccaneer out for this game, defensive tackle Mike Green, who's been dealing with a calf injury. So he'll miss this game. Questionable for the game on Monday night. Linebacker KJ Britt with a calf injury. Defensive back Josh Hayes, who's dealing with quad and knee injuries. And quarterback Baker Mayfield dealing with ankle and rib injuries. Cleared to play for this weekend's game. Offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs, who had an illness that held him out of practice one day. He was limited, then full. So he seems to be fully healthy back from that illness. Wide receiver Chris Godwin had a knee injury that he was dealing with, but also got a day of rest. And then wide receiver Mike Evans, never in question. He had a rest day on Saturday, fully cleared to play against the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, the name to watch there leading up to the game and during the pregame warmups and all that stuff is going to be the quarterback. It's Baker Mayfield with that ankle injury, the ribs injury. And look, he's already played with those injuries. You already know the toughness that Baker Mayfield brings to the field. So there's zero expectation that he's not going to play. The question really is going to be how well can he play? And going back to last weekend against Carolina Panthers, there were numerous people kind of pointed out, like, it basically looked like Baker Mayfield was playing with an injury. And then you always have the time battle, conversation of is it better for a star player or a starting player to play through an injury, or is it actually detrimental to the team? And, certainly it's a case by case basis. How injured does Baker Mayfield need to be before his effort on the field is actually detrimental compared to what maybe a Kyle Trask could put on the field. But Kyle having no real experience, no regular season experience with this team, Dave Canales' offense, all of those things. You're not going to want to go, that direction, at least to start the game. It's going to take an aggravation of some sort for Baker Mayfield to come off the game and for Kyle Trask or come out of the game and for Kyle Trask to get into the game. And even if you're a Kyle Trask fan, I'm hoping you're not hoping or wishing for further injury to Baker Mayfield just to see Kyle Trask get on the field. But, to each their own. So that's the situation for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For the Miami Dolphins. For the Philadelphia Eagles, wide receiver A.J. Brown is obviously the most notable player out for this game for them, suffering from that knee injury. Safety Sidney Brown also out with a knee injury. His is a torn ACL. He's not going to play this offseason or postseason. It's just a matter of what they're doing with that roster spot for right now. And as far as I know, at the time of this recording, he still holds an active spot. He'll just be out for this game. Questionable free safety Reed Blankenship with a groin injury. He did not practice all week long, so certainly doesn't look good, but he's also a veteran. They may trust him enough or may just need him enough that they go ahead and roll him out there without any practice during the week. Cleared to play, wide receiver Britton Covey with a groin injury. Quarterback Jalen Hurts, with that dislocated finger, was able to get full practices in this last week. So he seems to be, I don't know if I would say good to go, but at least cleared to go. Cornerback Darius Slay with a knee injury, wide receiver Devontae Smith with an ankle injury, and running back DeAndre Swift with injuries. So a lot of injuries on the Philadelphia Eagles side of things, but obviously the biggest name that's not playing is AJ Brown. And with him off the field, I did some deep diving into some numbers here. The Philadelphia Eagles have only run 121 snaps this season without AJ Brown on the field for them. They drop their primary personnel package they use is 11 personnel, most popular personnel package in the NFL, so that's no surprise. And it's still the most popular personnel package they use when AJ Brown's not on the field. But that 11 personnel usage does drop without AJ Brown. Where we see personnel rise is 13 personnel. So one running back, 3 tight ends versus one running back, 1 tight end, and 11. So that rise in 13 personnel is very interesting. It means you can see some bigger sets from the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night as they look to run the ball. Plus, the weather's not supposed to be good, so really conducive to try to run the ball anyway. So I think all that combined, expect to see maybe more 13 personnel than you would normally expect to see. 11 and 12 are still the top 2 personnel groupings. So 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends that the Eagles use even without A.J. Brown on the field. But again, without A.J. Brown, with the weather, with Jalen Hurts' finger injury, I would expect a lot of running from the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. 13 does see a 12% rise. So 13 personnel usage does see a 12% rise when Brown is off the field. And again, that combined with a finger injury suffered by Jalen Hurts and the weather, I think you're probably going to see that thing hit more like 15 to 18% more than normal 13 personnel usage. Opposing defenses when A.J. Brown isn't on the field tend to go man a little bit more than they do when he is on the field. And they blitz more often. And both of those things are right up top Bowles' alley. So expect a lot of that. More screens from the Eagles offense, fewer short drop passes. So they actually try to give Jalen Hurts more time to read the field. Less just kind of rip it and trust your guy type of scenarios, opening the opportunity for pressure to get home. And if you have a situation that Todd Bowles is going to crave, it's the opportunity to get home even more. Defenses present a stacked box 6% more of the time without Brown on the field than when he is on the field. And what's kind of interesting, I don't know, it might be a little bit anecdotal, but I thought it was interesting. Passes to the right side of the offensive formation for the Philadelphia Eagles drop 5% at each level. So short, intermediate, and deep. And they go up on the left side by about 10% in the short passing game, 2% in the deep passing game. Middle of the field passes go up as well. So when A.J. Brown's not on the field, passes to Jalen Hurts' right side really dip significantly. So that's kind of interesting because I kind of look at that and say, Todd Bowles might be able to take advantage of that, maybe call some more blitzes, dial up some more pressure from that side of the field. If you maybe don't have to worry about him throwing to that side of the field as much, might make you a little bit more bold, bringing pressure from that side of the field. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers are obviously the more healthy team coming into this Monday night wildcard matchup. But even on paper, people still have the Eagles getting this win. The Buccaneers are 2.5-point underdogs at this time. So what has to happen for us to witness an upset on Monday night at Raymond James Stadium? That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. And at Game Time, or Game Time thinks anyway, that you shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets when you want to go to a big event. Game Time is the fastest and the easiest way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. And they've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy it, so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into and exactly what to expect when you arrive to the venue. That all-in pricing shows your total up front, so you know what kind of great deal you're getting before you even hit the checkout. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even in an hour after it starts in some situations. It is the place for you to find those last-minute seats. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets for the same event, same row, same section, for less money, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Today's episode is also brought to you by Jace Medical, who presents to you their Jace case, an opportunity for you to be as prepared as possible during one of the worst flu seasons in recent memory. I know we come to sports to escape from the crazy realities of real life, but we do also need to make sure that our real life is taken care of. And the best way to take care of your real life is to be prepared for as many things as you can. And you don't want to run into supply shortages, pharmacy shortages, whether that means you can't leave the house or get to where you need to go to get to whatever it is that you need to get. The Jace case packs 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. And this stuff can happen to anybody. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than it is today. Go to jacemedical.com. Use the offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Again, jacemedical.com. Thanks for making Locked On Bucs your first listen of the day, every day. Thanks for coming through on a regular basis like you do. Make sure you come back tomorrow. It's post-game time. We're going to have a post-game episode, win or lose. Usually I would say draw, but there's no draws in the postseason. So make sure you come back from that. That will be going live shortly after the game concludes. Locked On has also launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel that is live 24/7 on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Now we're turning the page directly to this game. We've talked about who's going to play, who's not going to play, or who might not play. We've talked about what's at stake. Obviously, win or go home, right? If you win, season goes on. If you're the Buccaneers or the Eagles, that means you go to Detroit 2 p.m. Sunday for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. If you lose, you go home. Both teams have coaching speculation around them. There seems to be more speculation around Nick Sirianni than there does Todd Bowles, but both teams have a little bit of coaching speculation surrounding their futures and all those things. So certainly a win in the wild card round helps to solve some of those problems, right? Winning solves everything. Certainly winning would solve a lot of problems for both of these head coaches right now. So obviously, we're here to talk about the Bucs. We want the Bucs to win. We want Todd Bowles to get a little bit more job security coming out of this one. And our keys to Buccaneers victories, James is not here, but he still came through with the info and the opinion. And James says the Buccaneers got to use Rachaad White all day long. And as the resident Sun Devil of this here program, you know I support that theory or that approach every single week. Last time these two teams faced off, week 3, it was again Monday night. It was again in Raymond James Stadium. Only 62 yards total for Rachaad White in the last meeting between these two teams. Now, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles defense and how they've done compared to the last 4 running backs they've faced, going back 4 weeks, Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants had 97 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Then it was James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals getting 131 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley again, 84 total yards, 1 touchdown, and Kenneth Walker III of the Seattle Seahawks, 112 total yards and 1 touchdown. This defense is susceptible to running backs doing damage. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just got to find a way to get it to Rachaad, get things rolling, and get to work with the Sun Devil. Take the ball out of Baker Mayfield's hand, get it out quickly, but also hand it off to Rachaad White in space and give the Bucs nice chunk play opportunities to help continue to move the chain and convert those incredibly important third downs. And James wants to see them stick with the run game, even if the early results only yield a yard or 2, because things will continue to open up, especially if you're bouncing runs to the outside rather than running right up the middle. And yeah, I think you have to agree with that sentiment. The more pressure you can put on Jalen Hurts, the better. We talked about that earlier this week. I'm going to talk about it again here in just a minute. Even with the issues that Philadelphia's had in the safety position, you don't need to force the ball deep. You have everything run through Rachaad White, keep the down and distance manageable so you can sustain drives, then take your deep shots to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Trey Palmer, and maybe David Moore when they present themselves. So bottom line, use Rachaad White, chew up the clock, move the chains, finish long drives with points, any points, and they'll start to add up. And that bleeds right into my key to this game. And again, every day, if you've been through here every day, last week, you've heard this from me a little bit more, but I'm going to reiterate it because it is that important. Force Jalen Hurts to beat you with his brain. And I know that's kind of a different way of saying it, right? Jalen Hurts obviously is dangerous with his feet. He can be dangerous with his arm. I know some of that has been off in recent weeks and even, for the totality of the season, but he's still a very dangerous player, still a playmaker for those Philadelphia Eagles. So in this game, you need to make him play or make him beat you with his mentality, with his processing, with his reading, with the communication, because that is where the Philadelphia Eagles have really kind of fallen off a cliff this season. And when you watch these past Eagles games, you watch the tape and you just kind of look at everything, it is very clear that there is a significant lack of confidence of what's happening on the offensive side of the ball, also on the defensive side of the ball, but especially on the offensive side of the ball. Decision-making for Jalen Hurts has been suspect. That is the nicest way for me to put it at this point in time. There's a reason that teams blitz and stack the box more when A.J. Brown is off the field, because A.J. Brown is that safety net. A.J. Brown is that blanket, and he knows that, which is why he gets so frustrated when the team is struggling, yet A.J. Brown and Brian Johnson and the offense are failing to get him the ball. He knows he's the outlet. He's the safety net. He's the guy that can get things right when things are going wrong. Well, he's not going to be on the field. So if things are going wrong, they're just going to be going wrong. There's nothing AJ can do about it. So blitz more, stack the box more, communication between the offensive line, specifically center Jason Kelce, who sets the protections and the shifts, and quarterback Jalen Hurts has been iffy as well. So I've said this again previously this week. I'm going to say it again here. More stand-up defenders on the offensive, on the line of scrimmage than you have down defenders. And what I mean by that is not just as simple as saying, okay, so go 3-4. It's because 3-4, two of those linebackers, right? Two of those four linebackers could be off ball. Devin White, Levante David, for example. But what I'm saying is if you have 3 down linemen, I want 4 linemen or 4 linebackers, whatever you want to call them, defensive backs, whoever they are. I want 4 dudes standing up at the line of scrimmage right over their gap assignment. If you got 2 down linemen, I want 3 dudes standing up. You can't go 5 and 6, right? Unless it's like a tush push or a goal line type of situation. But you get the idea there, right? You need to present that look because it's harder for an offensive line to try to pinpoint where you're coming from, where you're not coming from. And you afford yourself more opportunities for Jason Kelce and Jalen Hurts to not be on the same page. If Jason thinks pressure's coming from here and Jalen thinks pressure's coming from there, protection's going to go one way, the quarterback's going to go another way. That's when things go a little haywire for the Philadelphia Eagles right now as they're struggling. Be more bold when you're blitzing from the offense's right side. Again, I just kind of talked about it. Without A.J. Brown on the field, the throws to the left side, they go up significantly. Now, you could say blitz more from that side so that you're in his face. You can say blitz more from the other side because you can leave a little bit more space behind the blitzers and not be as concerned. Whatever your theory is, whatever you feel most confident in, bottom line, bring the heat if you're Todd Bowles to Jalen Hurts. Take advantage of mistakes. That's kind of the biggest thing, right? You bring the pressure. You try to stack pressure on the offensive scoreboard. You try to bring pressure from the defensive side. Why? To make the quarterback make rush decisions, quick decisions, uncomfortable decisions, and bad decisions. But when those things happen, you got to take advantage of it. Can we get Zion McCollum's first career interception? Can it finally happen? This would be the perfect time for it to happen because, when you talk career interceptions, you're really talking about the regular season. So it would make just all the sense in the world for Zion's first interception come in the postseason because in a certain sense, especially when we come back next season, we're going to say again, Zion McCollum has yet to get an interception. And we're going to put the asterisk on the regular season interception, but it would just be, just the ultimate irony for Zion McCollum to get an interception, his first interception in the postseason. But I'm sure that he would take it and the Buccaneers would take it either way. When Jalen Hurts is throwing turnovers, it just helps the opponents. The Eagles are 7-4 when Jalen Hurts throws an interception. That's a 636 winning percentage. When he doesn't, it's about 30 points higher. And I know it's very close, but look, this is still a team that won 11 games in the regular season, right? So even as bad as they've been lately, they had a lot of good football for the most part. When he doesn't, when he turns the ball over twice or more, they're 1-2. So obviously taking advantage of those turnover opportunities. Turnover margin has always been important, so that's really not saying anything special. But the bottom line is you bring all that pressure. You try to create all that pressure to force those opportunities. You got to take advantage of them when they come. We saw Mike Edwards get an interception for the Kansas City Chiefs. We need to see some current Buccaneers get some interceptions on Monday night. Doing all of that is going to be key, but will it happen? Our predictions coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL regular season is all wrapped up, but there's still time for you to get in on the action this postseason with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, you get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed whenever you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. On Monday, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 10-point underdogs on the road against the Buffalo Bills because they're finally going to play their game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 2.5-point underdogs at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, despite receiver A.J. Brown missing the game and quarterback Jalen Hurts playing just a week after dislocating the middle finger on his throwing hand. So the app is easy to use. There's so many different ways to bet. If you think the Buccaneers are going to win, put $5 on them, after you create your account, that is, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets. So if you think the Eagles are going to win, same thing. Steelers, Bills, doesn't matter. All four of them, do whatever you want. Bet $5 and you will get $150 in bonus bets. They also have live same game parlays. There's a new Explore tab to find new bets every day. Make your own parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is an amazingly popular way to play, and even more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and win your first bet, no matter what. FanDuel, official partner of the National Football League. Wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Bucs, it's prediction time. We got bold predictions from myself, from James Yarcho, and from Evan Klosky. James Yarcho's bold prediction, Rachaad White should come of no surprise. He talked about that in his key to victory, and he predicts that Rachaad White, the Arizona State Sun Devil legend running back, will have 150-plus total yards of offense and a touchdown. 150 yards and more for Rachaad White and a touchdown against the Philadelphia Eagles. If he does that, I think you're pretty solidly on the track towards a Buccaneers victory. Evan Klosky, WTSP 10 Tampa Bay, our good buddy, your favorite on Wednesday. His bold prediction, no touchdowns in the first half for either side. So we're playing the field goals. It's a soccer match until halftime. After that, I don't know what Evan thinks is going to happen, but no touchdowns in the first half of this game. My bold prediction, perfect red zone offense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am predicting that every time they get into the red zone, they will score a touchdown. The Philadelphia Eagles have the 30th ranked red zone defense in the NFL. I think that is where Dave Canales and Baker Mayfield need to do their best work. Red zone, undefeated for the Buccaneers on Monday night. James is player of the game, linebacker Devin White. He says, James does, okay, Devin made a statement after the loss to Philly earlier in the year that the Buccaneers would seed them again. Well, you're seeing them again, Devin. Here is your opportunity. Hurts his hurt finger. Rain, it's all a recipe for disaster for Philadelphia if they rely on the passing game. So Hurts and Swift are going to be running the ball. Devin has to step up and answer that call, shut down Swift, spy Hurts, and minimize the damage that he can do on the ground. If Devin brings his A game, the Bucs defense is going to rally around him and dominate. If he doesn't, it could be a long day for the Buccaneers. James also makes a bonus bold prediction because he always makes bonus bold predictions. He says Devin White rises to the occasion, finishes with a sack, at least 2 tackles for loss, and his second takeaway against Philadelphia this season. So we got Rachaad White with 150-plus yards and a TD. Devin White getting a sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a takeaway against the Eagles. All that stuff happens, and I think you got yourself a Buccaneers win. Evans, player of the game, linebacker Levante David. And I got to give a hat tip to Evan Klosky for picking a player with such an amazing last name. So I return the favor. My player of the game, Mike Evans. James is predicting a 23-21 Buccaneers win. Evan is predicting a 20-18 Buccaneers win. I am predicting the score is 24-23 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So all three of us are going Buccaneers here for Monday Night Football to cap off the wild card weekend. A Buccaneers win, and we will talk about another game next Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, on the road against the Detroit Lions. Buccaneers loss, and it's draft season. So hold on to your seats, hold on to your controllers, your Wi-Fi combinations, and all that stuff. We will see what happens, and I will be here with you live after the game. James will also be with us live after the game to wrap up everything that does and doesn't happen coming up Monday night after the game. So come through for that. In the meantime, you got comments or questions, drop them in the YouTube comment section or hit us up on Twitter at Locked On Bucs or @JYarcho_Bucs or DHarrison82. Thanks so much for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or your first view today and every day. Every day, as you already know it, but I'm going to tell you anyway, we appreciate the heck out of you. So thank you for coming through on a regular basis. Until we speak again, please be safe, be kind, fire the cannons, enjoy the game. We'll see you next time for another episode of Locked On Bucs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.